My experiences at the mansion are many. During the 1972 campaign, I traveled throughout every county in the state of Missouri, and it's not common for a First Lady to make a campaign promise, but I did, and that was to open the governor's mansion to the public. And immediately after we moved in, I set about organizing a docent program, and even before we were really settled into the private quarters, we opened the governor's mansion for the first time to public tours. And the docent program, which I started in 1973, is still functioning today, and since then thousands and thousands of people have visited the governor's mansion. And then from that effort evolved Missouri Mansion Preservation, because after living in the house for a short period of time, I realized that there needed to be some kind of commission to protect the house. Well, the architecture of the Missouri Governor's Mansion is very unique, and I frankly wasn't all that familiar with Renaissance Revival architecture, and I think it's a great credit to the governor and the legislature who appropriated funds initially for the building of the house. Its scale is a little overwhelming with 17, 18-foot ceilings, and I think as soon as you walk into the governor's mansion, you appreciate the scale of the house and the importance of the house, and clearly the beauty of the house. We had a few really interesting guests. Probably the most interesting was Henry Kissinger, who of course was Secretary of State, and they came, he and his wife, Nancy Kissinger, came for breakfast at the governor's mansion. It all began with opening the house to the public and introducing the citizens of Missouri to this beautiful house. And Missouri is called the Show Me State, and we felt that it was important to show people what a Renaissance Revival house would have looked like in 1871. And that's one of the reasons we chose to restore the rooms, so that people saw the difference, and once they did, they wanted more. And a spinoff of opening the mansion on a regular basis for tours, of course, were the candlelight tours. We had Easter egg rolls, and we always tried to say thank you to the donors. We had bus tours, women who came from our major cities, Junior League, Garden Club, and they would pay a nominal amount for the trip, and a portion of that amount would go to Missouri Mansion Preservation. One of the things I'm most proud of is the book that was published during the second administration, Past and Repassed: The History and the Hospitality of the Governor's Mansion. What we wanted to do was to document the work that was done so that it was preserved for history as a record of the restoration. And then we added the second half of the book, which was hospitality and recipes, and I enlisted people throughout the state to test those recipes. And actually it was part of a marketing strategy, because everyone who tested a recipe bought a cookbook and a history book, because the book was both. And we sold over 40,000 copies of Past and Repassed, which is considered a huge number for a regional book, and this was of course a book that was of interest to people in Missouri. When we established Missouri Mansion Preservation, which is a tax-exempt foundation with a board of directors, we were very explicit in setting forth the responsibilities of the state, because it is a state building, of course, now open to the public. And we stipulated in the Articles of Incorporation that the state be responsible for the physical maintenance of the house. I would like to see more effort on the state's part to make sure that the house is preserved, because it's very difficult raising money for any good project, and fabrics do wear out, rugs wear out. In fact, some have been replaced because there is a lot of traffic, and we always considered the Governor's Mansion a living restoration, meaning that there weren't ribbons on the chairs. People actually sat in the chairs, and that's the way we want it. But as a result, the fabric on those chairs has to be replaced, and that money has to be raised privately. So I think it's very, very important that the state of Missouri recognize and accept their obligation to maintain this beautiful house and this historic site for future generations.